you guys. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be. My name is Marva B. I am the CEO and founder of Black Link Magazine, and we are a global publication. We are everywhere. So go ahead and follow us on Instagram at blacklinkmag.com or Black Link Magazine, I'm sorry, and our website, blacklinkmag.com. We're so excited to have our guest tonight. I'm going to let him introduce himself. Welcome to Black Link Magazine.
I thank you. Thank you for having me,
You're
Chef
very
Milas Williams.
Yeah. Go ahead and tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do. Just a little bit. We'll get into that.
Okay, how you doing? I'm Chef Milas Williams, here, a native of San Antonio, Texas. I'm a chef and also a philanthropist, and I am the CEO and co-founder of World Olean Corporation here in the city of San Antonio.
Wow. Wow. That's exciting. And it's especially exciting when we hear your story. So we want to talk about it so we can get it out there for the people, to encourage people, for the most part, to encourage people that they can be anything that they want to be. It doesn't matter about your past. And so some of the things that you've been through, I can relate to personally. So been there, done that. So I just want to talk about it. Let's get it out there and talk about it. So let's go all the way back and let's just talk about growing up and how it was for you growing up in San Antonio.
Wow. Growing up in San Antonio has different, how can I say, ethnicities and cultures. I love my city because of the diversity. Growing up in the 80s, of course, the late 80s, I'm an 80s baby.
Yes.
Growing up in the 80s and going into the 90s in the city of San Antonio on our east side, of course, we had the epidemic of drugs, gangs, just everything you could name. But that was what they wanted to glorify in our city, but that was not just what was going on. You had enrichment of Black leaders, male and female. You had church, you had block parties, you had the community actually looking out for the children in our community. So I don't try to glorify to say, oh, the gang life and everything, because I partook of all that. I love where I'm from because it made me who I am. But also I would never not mention that we did have positive structures. We did have people and those organizations in our city that tried to steer us the right way.
I like that because I can relate so much that it wasn't the choice. So for me, it wasn't my upbringing. It wasn't something that the things that I did, it wasn't because I saw it put before me. It was choices that I made because, again, there were positive influences in my life. I had both of my parents. I had the church. And so I made decisions that wasn't because of my upbringing. So I can relate to that. So as we talk about that, let's talk about some of the things that you got into. You mentioned the gangs, but actually let's talk about how did you even get, if you can, how did you even get incorporated with a gang and then go through everything that you went through?
Well, those things, gang life, a lot of people's stories is pretty much predominantly the same, whether if they define it or dissect it, is that, you were a product of your environment. You grew up with a group of brothers who you grew up with. These are a lot of them are my friends and brothers. I wouldn't call them friends, but my brothers still to this day, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of them are, man, doing way, way, way good, excellent, better than me.
Yeah.
And it's just the upbringing is just a group of guys, group of females. We grew up together. Your mama, my mama, everybody's mom knew each other, or we was related in some kind of form of fashion. And that's just how it went. We was it was I don't see the stories of the jumping in people and all this other stuff, and you had to kill somebody to do. It wasn't nothing like that as far as from what I grew up on my experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So because you did have people in your life that tried to steer you the right way, right? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to say this the right way. What do you think it was that caused you to make the decisions that you made in your life? As far as going the opposite, doing the total opposite.
I get with the positive influences that were in my life growing up, I've had those teachers, those coaches, But you would be surprised that a lot of the influences that wanted me to be that wanted me to be on a positive level were actually some of my own partners, my own brothers that
Right.
ran right alongside of me. Why? Because you see the potential in somebody. And what made me deviate and go that way, is because my uncle, what I'm saying, he was gunned down, he was slain. My one of my big cousins who's well known in that lifestyle, and now, he's not a part of that lifestyle anymore. Just going off of that and just saying, I gotta fit in and be and live up to this name, and that's just basically what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Again, being a product of my environment, seeing what's all go around me. It's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Right.
But I, like I said, I had my opportunities of going right, going to the military, doing all this, the good stuff. But again, I chose that path. I chose that lane because those were my brothers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We would talk, stick by each other, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of times too, it comes with when you have certain certain flaws and dysfunctions in the home, you know what I'm saying? Those things can deter you from the love. If there's no love at home and all you getting is minimal love, then you get the love from your brothers, you know what I'm saying, or what's going on in the streets.
That's right.
So it's a lot of byproducts, if you want to say, for a lot of people, who has lived that lifestyle, not just here in the city of San Antonio, not just in Texas, but around the nation. You know what I'm saying? When they
Oklahoma,
live that
it's
life,
everywhere.
when they live, when they have, they'll have a different shake or a different story, a different line of how they view how they pursued their lifestyle.
Absolutely.
A lot of people ask me, would I change any of it? Not not one bit.
Tell me, when you say, when people ask you, would you change anything about that? Because a lot of people say, if I could just go back, I would change this, I would do that. Why is it that you say no?
Why do I say no? Because my grandfather taught me. My great grandfather. I remember going to juvenile once for weed possession,
Mhm.
and I remember my mother taking me to my grandfather's house. And when you go over to the grandpa, granddaddy, we called him granddaddy, daddy-o. He was my great grandfather, and he passed at a old age and in a fruitful age. And he told me, after a few days staying there, I was waiting on those times where he was going to either whoop me or get on me or whatever. And he never did. And that was the strange thing about it, because as the last day when my mother was finna come pick me up, the weekend was over. I had to go to school on Monday. And he sat me down that Sunday morning. I never forget. It was on a Sunday morning. He was sitting outside. He had a cane. He used to always mess with the dirt with
Mhm.
his cane, and he'd be messing around. He said, "Sit down," and I sat down next to him, and he says, "So you did what they said you did?" And I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "I'm not even finna lie to you. I did that." You know. So you like to see a mama cry, huh? You like to see my baby cry?
Ouch.
And I couldn't, because now he's getting into that lane, you
Right.
know. And he says, "Let me explain." So he said, "You mad about what about what you did?" And I'm like, he said, "Don't be mad. Don't regret nothing that you do. Because if you have to regret anything that you do, you should have never did it in the first place." And so we're taking that, and that was at the age of 13, 14 years old. I'm looking at, why wouldn't I change anything as far as the upbringing, the lessons that I learned, because then I would have never known, um, my partner Scooter, my partner Frote, my partner Scooby, all these people who raised me, you know what I'm saying, and
Right.
showed me, like, hey, as a man, because we was all young men, young boys turning into men on our own.
Right.
A majority of us did come from single parent mothers
Right.
who, man, we wasn't trying to make mama cry, but
Right.
we had to understand, I had younger brothers under me that was looking up to me, and I had to be the man of the house. So would I change anything? I would change the tears of my mother. I would change some of the things that I did to hurt other people when I committed crimes. But as far as the lesson, as far as the love that I know that was
Yeah.
genuine from these brothers
Yeah.
and sisters from my hood, nah, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah. When you say, the tears of your mother, did that conversation with your grandfather bring that to perspective?
It put the piece. I can say my mother. Okay, I will say this right because that conversation with my great grandfather, it put the piece of the puzzle to my questions. I'm always questioning and inquisitive,
Right. Right.
questioning since I was young, since I was younger, asking like, man, because I was always the type to know we was raised with knowing who our family history was and who was this and who was that, why
Right.
Auntie did this, why Uncle did that. And
Right.
I can say that my mom was the perfect mom to me.
Right.
Now, had she made the perfect move? No.
Right.
Was she always right? No. But it was right for our household.
Right. Right.
And it was certain things that even my mother did, what I'm saying, that I was like, man, what I'm saying, why you do that? What I'm saying? Like, but it was what was normal to us was not normal to the outside of the urban community. You know what I'm saying? So you can't get mad at what one would have did and one would have because that's how they survive,
It's a fact. So let me ask you this. So you had the conversation with your grandfather, and
Hmm.
he brought that perspective to you about, your mother and him, and bringing the family dynamic into it, right? But you
Exactly.
still went on to commit the crimes, still selling the drugs, whatever it was that you were doing in the streets to cause you to land in prison,
Hmm.
right? Let's talk about that. Was it that it's hard to say, but was it that it's not that you didn't listen to him, it was that you was with your brothers, you was in the street, and that's just what was going on at the time.
Yeah. And I could say that conversation slowed me down. Even though I was still in the streets, I did go and actually get an employment. I had my first job at Taco Bell. I lied about my age just to get a job to prove to my mom, like, hey man, I ain't trying to die
Right.
in the streets.
Right.
I ain't trying to be no knucklehead. You know what I'm saying? But what was the very, very most monumental part of me, what really was like, it's like a train already going. I was the old locomotive train, and my brother Dietrich, he was the speed train. And what I mean by that is I was older than the speed train and a newer model of what is already being taking place.
Mm-hmm.
And while my train was already going, his train is coming. He's building his identity. He's building his group. You know what I'm saying? Because some of the people that I ran with, they got little brothers and stuff, and all of them grew together.
Yeah.
So here it is. Now it's like a generational curse thing. My brother is looking up to me and looking up to seeing what I'm doing, and he
Yeah.
wants to do it 2 or 3 times worse than me.
Yeah.
Um, that slowed me down too when I seen him go off to juvenile. It's just the choices, if you want to say the choices that we
Right.
make.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What kept me going was just that we hear so much. I heard so much growing up. Like you ain't. I mean, I'm like, hell. I already got a record. I ain't gonna mount to nothing. They say we ain't. So it is what it is. Live by, die by.
Uh-huh.
Music. You know what I'm saying? We can't even say music influenced us because we was already doing stuff half what the music was already popping out, portraying.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
coming from the most worst hoods in San Antonio, East Area. So I it was just one generation after the next, one generation after the next, and that's what we lived for. We loved everything we was doing, regardless if it was wrong or if it was right.
Right.
Just going into it, I can't really pinpoint and say, what made me do it because I wasn't drawn into something that has become a custom of your life.
Yeah.
You can't just psychologize. You can't now you can psychologically define it or whatever you want to label it. But to me, it was the norm. We was already doing it. It was like a 9 to 5.
Right.
Protect my partner, protect your hood and make sure to know, you know what I'm saying? But as time grew on, it was a part of me. It
Right.
was a part of my mind that was separating. And I felt it. Like I used to let a lot of people make it, or I used to do this, or I stopped saying this. And sometimes I remember when I started having jobs, people were like, "Is that the only way you know how to conversate? Is with what we call gang lingo or whatever? Do you
Uh-huh.
have to always curse in your
Right.
in your vocabulary? Do you always got to say that?" And I started catching myself. Now
Uh-huh.
those type of influences right there, regardless, you may still be on that lane.
Right.
Those are gems being implanted, seeds implanted in
Absolutely.
your spirit because you're not knowing you may never see this person again, but it's teaching you when this person speaks up who's nowhere in your lane in life, they're saying, why do you speak like this? Why do you think like this? Why you got your pants hanging down? Man, who are you to tell? But then it's like, do I conform to society and keep on doing it if what I'm doing right and what they believe is wrong? Or is I'm an alien or what? And it's just you just gotta find yourself. And then that's when it comes to who am I? You have to start finding yourself. And when you wake up, you be like, regardless of where I came from in the lane, I have to find my identity. I need to be who I am.
Right.
And for so long, if we've been wearing flannels and Dickies and Chucks and Nike Cortez is wearing our hair in curls and braids and dookies and having the big chains and all that, that's what you said that we needed to be to survive or to coexist or cohabitate in this world. But yet, when you tap in and actually say, "Who am I?" Then you find out, man, I like wearing hard bottom shoes, but I ain't talking about cardboard. I
Right.
like wearing slacks. I like wearing shirts
Right.
and ties,
Come
suits and
on.
ties. You see what I'm saying? So it's the evolving. I don't believe no one changes. I believe everybody evolves into who God designed them to be.
I believe that. I believe
A
that.
metamorphosis.
So you ended up ultimately going to prison.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
can we talk about the reason why and
Of
what
course.
sentence they gave you whenever it happens?
Of course. So this is one of the instances where I was already on felony probation and I committed the act of aggravated robberies with my brother Dietrich and one of his friends, well, both of our friends growing up.
Right.
And the reason now, this is where I started as a man starting to think. Here it is. If you look at my track record and you look at my brother's track record, we have the same identical felony cases from the time I started to the time he started. We have the same identical felony cases. What that lets you know that watch what you do because someone is always watching you,
Yes.
right? And so my brother was so close to me that it was an instance where he was committing a crime and word got back to me. Like, hey man, your brother almost got shot because of this, and this, you know what I'm saying? So in my mind, what's the first thing that I pulled him when he got home, I pulled him to the side. I'm like, hey, you want to do this? Do it with me.
Mm.
Think about that. Think about is that for that moment, it may have been right. It may have been right for that moment. But think about is that sane? Here's my baby brother. I'm like, hey man, you know what? If you're gonna rob with me. Since I hear that you can't get it right. And I remember telling him that. And we went on and did what we did and look where it landed us. I look at that also at an instance of this. My mom prayed for us.
Yes.
Watch this here. My girlfriend at the time was praying for me to get right. My mom was praying for her sons to get right. I was praying for my brother to get right because he had just came home from TYC,
Yeah.
Texas Youth Commission, and God said, you know what? It's too many people praying for these two. It's just like I don't know if you know the movie It's a Wonderful Life. That's my favorite movie.
Uh-huh.
It's a Christian movie. It's a Wonderful Life. At the beginning, there's so many people praying for George Bailey.
Right.
I felt that because when both of us got incarcerated, what luck of a draw with two brothers. But then let me not stop there. It's a generational curse because both my uncles, both both my uncles, my mother's two younger brothers, both go to prison together for the same crime. They were shooting out with the laws, and when they went out to prison.
Oh my gosh.
See the generational curse?
Yes, absolutely.
And when I went and I started dissecting all this, it's only going to take if you come with knowing who you are and identifying who you are and being real with who you are, that you can have these thoughts with yourself. And what did Michael Jackson say? The man in the mirror. You come to grips with the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Okay, but you got charged with that. How many years did they give you?
They gave me 25 years in trial. I did 15 years of the 25. I had to do 12 and a half. I had to, like, before they even consider me coming up for parole. Like, to even think about, we just gonna go over here and throw this file to the side.
Okay. Yeah, that straight 15 years.
I did 15 calendar years, yes.
So even while that sounds really horrible because no one wants to be locked up, it is, it's a bad place to be, all that stuff, right? But let's talk about the good in that while you were there, because the good, what happened while you were there, landed you where you are today.
Let me take it back. When my brother was sentenced, I knew from that moment, and I told God, I said, God, I done led my brother down the wayward path. I love my brother so much that I felt, even when my brother started catching felony cases, I felt it was still my fault.
Did he get the same time as you?
No,
okay.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
So I felt it was me. And I told God, I said, man, on my way, I never was scared to go to prison. I was 19, 160 pounds. You hear so many stories. I have my moments where I have stories of when we was on the chain bus. We drive up to the unit. The unit. The people say you're now property of the state of Texas. Yeah. Just different things. And people want me to, speak about the horrificness of prison and how was it. You're probably the second interview that I've had that has really wanted to dissect how did prison or where did it click to make you better.
Right.
No one has everybody don't nobody ever asked me that. So that's why I'm fortunate, and I thank you for this opportunity, because no one has ever had me tap in like nights of loneliness, nights of fighting with myself,
already know,
nights of struggling and dang, you thinking about home every single day. Think about this, and people don't even understand how it feels to be confined or in prison. Think about standing in the closet saying, "I want to get out. Yeah. Unlock this door. Unlock this door. Unlock this door. Unlock this door." I'm talking about for 15 years, every day. Think about that. Think about if you really want to see or find out how prison is, go in a room, tell somebody to lock the door, go to sleep, and wake up and have the AC on or whatever you want to do. But every time you go to that door, it's going to get you. Unlock the door. Quit playing. Unlock the door. Unlock the door. That's every day. It went like that for the first year and a half. Even though I was watching my surroundings, you're just trying to learn.
Right.
And through the learning, you think that you're learning about prison. You think that you're learning the ins and outs. You think that you're getting schooled or getting the game about how to survive in there, right? But I always looked at every day as I'm gonna take these lessons and come home and show my people what it is. Because
but I'm sorry to interrupt you. I have to ask you, but in the beginning, it took you a year and a half to get to that mindset, right?
Exactly. Well, yes, it took to realize
Okay.
the mindset was there. So basically, I was a sponge,
Right.
soaking
Okay.
it all up
Yeah. Yeah.
because I like being around the older cats, and I'm learning the lingo. I'm learning, and this is and any male, any male who goes to prison, who has been incarcerated and goes in young, and you speak to them and they can attest to this. If they can't attest to this, then they're lying. You going in to learn to become a man. You go in there and you see the flaws and different flaws of different men, and you learn what not to do. But the greater part of prison is a bunch of individuals, a bunch of gems, GEMS, diamonds that are sitting in there polished. Some of them ain't never getting out. Some of them been in there for some years and they learned their lesson, and still the state won't let them out. And these are the individuals that I surrounded myself with because they taught me how to shave. Mind you, I'm 19 years old going
Right.
in. They taught me
Right.
how to shave. They taught me how to keep my hygiene up. They taught me how to cut hair. They taught me how to weight lift. They taught me how to make my bed right. They taught me all these things. You would think it's to the prison standards. No, because I still practice those stuff today. And that's not institutionalization. That is keeping your house neat, making sure that you don't have an odor. Did you know that when you walk around your home, depending on what type of walls you have, that your chemistry sticks to the wall, so you just can't mop the floor. You have to wash the walls. All this meticulous stuff in prison, plus the respect that you learn.
Yeah.
And I took all that as a man. So the first 4, 5, 6 years, it's about being a man, how to respect, how to talk to people, how to present yourself, and all that. And I wasn't just learning from them; I was learning from the officers too, because again, they're still human. But again, we already know the famous saying from Albert Einstein said, "What if you want to find the most piece of shit of people on the planet in the workforce? Go sit in the parking lot of a prison." And I read books and I got all these quotes, and I started learning, but then it wasn't about I'm gonna hate the prison guard, I'm gonna hate the system. It
Right.
was about how am I gonna be when I come home? Because I don't want to be like some of the partners who I grew up with or older than me or from other hoods who I know or came across, and they had 3 years. I got 25, you got 3 years, and then here it is 4 years later. I see you coming right back on the chain bus because you got another dope case, and I'm still stuck in here.
Right.
I'm growing up in here while you getting a chance to go to freedom.
Right.
It's just like that movie Life. I swear. You see people come and you see people go. I've seen people
Fact.
come back to my same unit 2 or 3 times, and I'm like,
Fact. It's a
man,
fact.
I can't wait. I can't wait till they give me my shot. I can't wait till they give me my shot. Then you see those individuals who have been in and out, and then you see them when they finally are tired. And then you see some who are finally tired, but they picked up that life sentence. You see what I'm saying? And it gets impactful. And so when I do these interviews and when I do when I don't have success, God give me everything. Everything belongs to God. This interview, my house, my cars, my career,
Everything.
everything belongs to God because
Everything.
at a snap of the finger,
Right.
it could be gone.
Come
And
on.
so I do these interviews not only for the children, not only for me,
Yeah.
not only for the masses, whoever can learn from it, but also for my brothers and sisters in the Texas prisons, to show them that all the knowledge that these brothers poured in me, black, white, and Hispanic, from all walks of life, all
Right.
gangs, all everything, that I took the time to listen.
Right.
And so that's what transitioned my mindset to go into, what will I be and what will I do upon release. I have to start setting my 5-year plan, 10-year plan up. And that's what I started doing.
Wow. So you never gave up the fact that you might not come out of there. You knew it
Oh, I knew. I knew they, whether it been 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, or 25 years, you're gonna have to let me go one day.
right. Right.
And I remember getting transferred from one unit to the next unit when I was eligible to come up for parole. I mean, for college. See,
Oh,
when you have
100.
when you have an aggravated case in Texas, Texas prisons, you can't go to college or enter any type of college until you finish 5 years of your time. And so when that time came, I signed up for culinary arts, and I was on my journey there, and I
Right.
met a lot of people and stuff. And I remember getting to the unit, the new unit, and the warden there said, "Oh, you came from French Robinson?" Like, yeah, it's in Abilene, Texas. He says, "Oh, they sent you there to break you." And I was like, "Okay." Say, "What did it?" I said, "No, sir. Made me better, made me stronger." Now that piece of I had to keep my game face on, because then that reverted me back to before I left the county jail here in the city of San Antonio. You know, the different hoods, Bloods and Crips, and all the OGs from those hoods who have been to prison, and they sit down and they tell you what to do, what not to do. They school you before you exit off and catch on and
Right.
go to prison. And they tell you, man, don't you know that the DA, they write little notes on your file. They write little notes on your file, what to do, what not to do, how to handle them in prison. It's like little suggestion notes, like, hey,
Right.
Milas Williams, he like the clown. We need to try to break him because he don't want to listen. They sent my brother Wade to the youngster farm in Ferguson. Did it break him? No. Made us better.
Thank God. Thank God, because guess what? Some people it works. It breaks them.
Yeah.
They
Some
give up
people out
hope
there.
and they start getting in trouble and saying, forget it, just throwing their lives away. So thank God that you
Yeah.
hung in there. So you get to culinary. Why culinary?
Culinary, I love cooking since I was young. Culinary, I seen that cooking and meals brought people together. We all hear that traditionally. Well, I seen my mom cook and used to give my older sisters, homegirls who used to rip and run the streets, want to be fast, gang banging or whatever, who ain't been home. Their mama called and say, "Hey, Miss Williams, she ain't been home in 2 or 3 days. Have you seen her?" And my mom will look out the window. There she go. "Hey, your mama ain't seen you too, Miss Williams. Don't tell her, man. She, don't even know that these girls are being raped or molested or whatever." And my mom, she was that nurturer. She was one of the many moms from my childhood of my partners growing up. Like my partners' moms, they was awesome.
Right.
A lot of them was awesome. Like they would treat you like they own. And my
Mm.
mom was the same way. And she would give you a meal. She would let you sleep on the couch or the floor or whatever. She wouldn't turn you in, and she wouldn't do none of that. So just by seeing that,
Yeah.
also, while I was incarcerated, I seen that, man, Texas prisons don't pay you. They don't pay us no money down there. They don't give
Yeah.
us nothing. They give us 5 to 7 pieces of lye soap and some tooth powder. And if you ain't got nobody to send you any money, then you got to hustle. You got to do what you got to do. And it is what it is. And I was one of those individuals. But I knew that I loved to cook, and I remember I didn't want to do too much of nothing wrong to try to get
Right.
me more time. And I remember brushing my teeth. I was on 18 dorm on French Robinson. And guys, I'm gonna give you two gifts. He said, I'm gonna teach you how to cut hair. I used to cut my own hair. I became one of the best comb and razor barbers on my unit outside. But my brother, he hands down, my brother Dietrich, he can smoke my game and cutting hair.
Right.
He awesome.
Yeah.
Um and cooking. And I always wanted to get myself all my jobs. If I wasn't a SSR, a janitor, or porter, what they call it, I was in the kitchen.
Right.
And that's where I learned, because I knew that sometimes when I'm hustling in prison, I remember this guy. I will remember people on my dorm who would nobody send no money to. They didn't have no means of hustle. They was just hungry. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you have people who only eat the prison food three, and once after that lunch is at 5 or 6 o'clock. Think about it. You got to go from 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, hungry. But you watching everybody have spreads or eat big honey buns or whatever. So I used to get off work in prison, and I used to have some smuggling. This is what I did. I smuggled in some of my sandwiches and stuff. Made me some soups and chips and stuff. But then I would always remember that guy. one of them guys. It didn't have to be, I don't care who it was. Whatever dorm I fell on, if I fell, and it was a dude there, black, white, or Hispanic, man, I'm gonna look out for him. Here's a sandwich. Man, so you don't owe me nothing because I know what it feel like to be hungry.
Um, So the time comes, it's time for you to come home, to get out for release. So you said you planned 5 years, 10 years. What was your plan? Like, it's time to go now. And you've been in there so long and things have changed on the outside over 15 years. Like, what was it like? And what was your plan?
I remember towards my last 2.5 years, I was corresponding with my brother more and more and more. And we was talking about the plan. And I was already in the process of writing my books. And I was already in talks of, I'm a risk taker. I'm going, when you tell me no, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna show you yes.
Yeah.
My books that I wrote that are published on Amazon now, I wrote them in prison. And I wrote them in prison and I said, man, I'm gonna have them published and everything. Then when I did that, I did the culinary. I wish I could take down my book and show you what I wrote. I said I would change the world through. I said I'm going to change the world around me through my cooking. I wrote that in prison. I still got that cookbook right here on the shelf.
Right.
It was a brother named Demetrius Early out of Louisiana. He was incarcerated with me, and he was one of the major factors who taught me to educate myself before I went home, because he had just came in and he was only doing like a short bid.
Right.
But I had been gone. He was like, transform your mind now. Read Forbes, read Black Enterprise, read all the popular science, read all that, learn about technology, learn about what's going on in society, so that way when you get out, you won't be lame. You may not know the experience, but you'll be on point to know, what a Bluetooth was, or what, all this stuff. Because when I got home, I was like, man, why people talking to themselves? Bluetooth. I had to remember. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that work, knowing the job for working for us, watching the news, I was always on the news, how the world was shifting from who was the minority, who was the majority.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How the races, the ethnicity, not races, because you only have one race, which is the human race, but ethnicities, how they were fluctuating and going up and down in society. Especially I was incarcerated when President Obama was elected president. So, when you see all those shifts in the universe, you got to stay on point. And he was right there to walk me through, you know what I'm saying, economics and stuff. And so when I came home, I had wrote my plan down in my heart, knowing like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get the books published. I'm gonna come home, be a good damn dad, and just work.
Right.
Being a chef was it on my radar to be a chef? Yes and no. More or less being an author and a worker was my thing, but actually being a chef, no. Now, surely, running a nonprofit was not on my radar. Helping my community and enriching my community and those around me, yes, but starting a nonprofit, no, because I'm not into all the red tape and everything that go on with the government. So I don't look if I got a plan and we can execute it without. That's just how I do it, because that's just how it is. I love working in the food industry. I love making people happy with cooking. I took my culinary. Now, what I did set out to do, and I wound up completing it 2 times over, was the culinary, going to college, graduating from college from St. Philip's. St. Philip's is like the mecca to me. I don't know about anybody else, but to my city's east side, St. Philip's was like way more sacred to me than a church.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not saying college, St. Philip's College replaced the church, because I love the church, the faith. But as a street dude who didn't want to go in no church, who was gangbanging and doing all that, every time I saw St. Philip's, I say, man, that is the place that I've seen a lot. I heard that a lot of Black people that school created a bunch of Black excellence. And I need to go there one day. I used to ride by there and be high. Man, I'm gonna graduate from there one day. not knowing 20, 30 years, you know what I'm saying, later, it would happen.
Oh, your story is deep. It's deep. And the reason that I like it is because, listen, it's so much crime today. It's so many young people involved in all that stuff. If they would just sit and take the time to listen to your story, and many people like you, like I know people that have been there and have changed, like you said, changed their whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was then, but this is who I am now. And so basically now who you are, who is Milas Williams today?
Who am I today? I am a father. I'm a chef. I pray to God that I'm a good friend to some people. Some people I'm the devil. It is what it is. Um, but who am I today? I'm a man still seeking. I'm a man still messing up and yet still learning.
Mhm.
And through me being real with myself, I can offer that to you, to the youth that I touch, because it's being transparent.
That's
I
right.
always open up when I talk to the youth. I say, "Have you ever been to a restaurant before?" They say, "Yeah." What's the first thing they come and bring you? A menu. Your life is that menu. I'm just an option, a
Mm,
selection. Everybody that you meet, whether that they be an appetizer, main course, or a dessert or a beverage, in life, you have to categorize who is who, and these are your options. This is your options. You get to select, and
wow.
you pay for what you get.
What you
So
select.
if you
What
so,
you
so what
select.
if
Right.
you select the wrong, pay for it.
I pay
Cash
for
that
it.
check.
Come
If you
on.
select the right, pay
Cash
for
that
it.
check.
Right there, cash that check.
That's right. I love it. I can't wait to get this out. And the reason I say that is because I'm familiar with the inside, right? I know what goes on in there, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Yeah,
All we
me
have to
neither.
do, but it all stems down to choices, the
Yes.
choices that we make. It's not hard to do right. And a lot of things that I saw was like people was like, I don't want to be here. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. But it was the choice you made. And a
Yeah.
lot of it's like, well, I did it because of that person, or because no, it's because the moment that I think the moment that you own it and say, this was my choice, nobody
Exactly.
forced me to do this, that's when the change starts to
You
happen.
know, that's one of the things as being a good chef is own it. You
Own it.
mess up, own it. Hey, hurry, chef, I messed that up. Don't give me no excuse. In life, it's the same way. Don't give it no excuse. Just own it.
Yeah.
Even now as a chef, I still mess up life's dishes.
Yes.
And I'm still in the process as a man correcting, because if you don't, and people say, well, how do you look at good and bad? I don't believe there's nothing bad.
Help me.
They said I was bad at 17. Look at me at
Mm,
42. Is it
mm.
really bad, or is the calling, was it perverted enough, or was the ground, because in the Bible it says break up your fallow ground, which is a hard ground, and it was referring to the heart. Break up your fallow ground, and like, God will give the increase on certain things if you break it up. You allow the seeds of life and the jewels and the teachings from the different teachers teach you. Break it up. Don't be so hard hearted. And
Right.
once you own it, you'll be able to receive it.
Yeah.
You'll be able to receive every blessing, everything that God got for you.
Yeah, because I believe people have hard times. They fall on hard times and then they end up doing things. But it's at some point you got to learn, right?
Yeah.
Even if you fail, even if you go to prison, even if you go to jail, even if you make the wrong, what did you learn from that?
Mhm.
And how can you make it better? Right? A while ago, you said transparency.
Yes.
You can't come out here and telling people what they want to hear. We got to tell people the truth, the blatant truth
Exactly.
about it, because that's the only way other people learn. And then I can say, but I told you, I told you the truth. And like you said, it's the menu, what you're gonna choose. Here's the truth about it. And here's all this other stuff. What are you gonna choose? Right?
Mhm.
I love that. I love that. And now here you are, a very, very successful chef, right? A nonprofit, doing your thing. And then also the Bible talks about sharing your story. You have to go out and tell your story because it shows the goodness of God. I appreciate you being here.
Oh,
Let's
thank
talk
you.
about your books. Tell people the titles of your books and how they can find your books.
Okay, so I got this right here.
Yes.
So of course, my books were published underneath 21st Street Publishing. Then just last year, I bought my rights back, so I own all my rights to all my books.
Oh,
I own it. Yeah, like Jay-Z and them got their masters. I got my masters. I can do what I want.
yes.
So here the books. Bound by Blood, Loyal by Choice. They are on Amazon and Kindle. This is book one. This is book two. It's a part of a 6-book series. Book three will be released after we get done doing the pilot. We're trying to film the pilot and do some TV series type stuff
Okay.
because I want people to get interested in part one and part two before I start unloading all this arsenal of books.
Right. Yeah, let them know about it. Yeah. Get them interested in it. And then how can people reach you on all social media sites?
Social media sites is World Lowly, World LOLEI, Elite on Instagram. You have World Lowly Incorporation on Facebook. Of course, my name is Lowly Clemenza on Facebook. um, Let me see what else. I mean, you can go to www.worldlowlyelite.net to look at the nonprofit work that we do here in the city of San Antonio. We have our junior chef competition coming up this year, our
Oh,
8th
wow.
annual. We're looking for 3 families instead of the students. We're enriching the parents or adults from your family to cook right alongside your child. It is July 20th, 22nd. We have launched the promotion for our back to shoes, back to school, changing the trajectory of what back to school is. We're helping parents for our 3rd year doing this. Instead of giving backpacks away, we select 40 to 60. Last year was almost 100 students, and we took them to Foot Locker and gave each one of them $100 to $125 shopping spree at
Wow.
Foot Locker. So yeah, I mean
Congratulations.
that makes the impression. So these children who have never had a pair of Jordans, or man, mama keep telling them no, we
Wow.
changed that. We changed that because we help the parents relieve that burden.
Do you ever think about going back to the prisons, or have you gone back to the prisons where you can get in to speak to guys and show them your life today?
I have at the beginning when my career started taking off and God started setting the compass for me being a chef. I have went back into several prisons and spoke. That is something that I'm looking forward to doing more of, getting back on and moving forward to doing more of, because once my career took off, I go to ranches around Texas. Um, I mean, I'm always busy. People are like, man, Chef Milas, you're always busy when you have time. And yeah,
You got
my
to come
life is
out
kind of
here and
my
talk to
life
some
is
of
hectic.
these young
Where
guys. You need
and
to
where you at?
Oklahoma, up the street.
Oh yeah, I need to come then. We need to connect. I got
Yeah,
you.
we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
So
most
yeah,
definitely.
listen, I tip my hat to you. I'm excited about what you're doing in your community and what you're doing for the young people. And I hope, we usually in the old cliche, right? If I've helped one person, I've done my job, and it's true. If you can get through to one kid and save one kid's life, then you've done your job. So continue to do what you're doing. We at Black Link Magazine support you. You guys go out and get the magazine. It will be in all book. It'll be in about 40 stores, Books A Million stores across the US. It is in Texas. So go to Books A Million. He is featured in this March 1, the magazine drops. So you're going to have to go get that magazine and read his brief bio. I got one more question. I got one more thing.
Yeah.
What advice are you going to leave with young people tonight? What's the best advice that you're giving them?
The best advice that I can give a child is the advice that carried me as a child through prison. And it's, if you catch it, if you catch it young and hold on to it, like you hold on to a peace of mind, then maybe it'll do for them as it did for me. And it goes like this there. Just let things be in their own way, and you'll have neither coming nor going. Obey the nature of things, nature meaning life. Obey the things of life, and you'll walk freely and undisturbed.
Drop the mic. All right. Whoa. All right, you guys, we're going to get out of here for now, because y'all know me. If you follow me, you know me. I can keep him on here all night, because this is my topic. I love to see struggle to success. So thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Chef. Thank you. We're going to have to come and eat some of your food in San Antonio too. So
Of course.
Yeah, you guys go get the book, please. Let's support one another. When we support each other, we become a force to reckon. So let's help each other come up. Go get the book on Amazon. It's on Kindle. So go to the website. Let's support. We're going to go for now. Remember, respect yourself, respect each other. God bless.